And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, welcome to everyone. We are back. The Weighing In podcast is here to talk about MMA, boxing, and the world of combat sports that we talk about so extensively and so well. Because my man Josh Thompson is coming back. I saw him hitting pads. He's hitting the mitts. He's coming back. There's not a doubt about it. Look out, everyone. The comeback is real. Tell him, Josh.
You're out of your goddamn mind. If one thing that mitt session did for me was realize I have no desire to get back in shape and hit mitts ever again. My hands are still sore from hitting mitts, and it was on Friday. My back is still sore. My shoulders and traps are still sore. I'm like, I even have like this thing like from my jaw to my neck, like up to my jaw to my like
cramping.
I think from being tense, it starts cramping. Like I was laying in bed yesterday, and I laid down, like I went to sit up, and it just started seizing up on me. I'm like, yeah, this is never gonna happen, man. I don't see that. I don't have the desire at all. And I've said this a bunch of times. I walked past the cage, and I'll give you an example. Last show for Bellator, I walked past the cage when I watched Aaron Pico and Justin Gonzalez fighting. And I was like, the speed of everything and the power they were throwing with every shot, and just watching that calf kick hit on Pico and Pico landing the body shot and the sound of it all. I was like, this is disgusting. I have no desire whatsoever to ever be hit again. I don't want to do it. It baffles me to see these guys wanting to come out. Like Anderson Silva. Oh, hello, buddy. You're the freaking man. You are the man. 47, 48 years old, whatever it is.
Almost 47.
Jeez, something like that. I'm like, gosh. Oh, no thanks, man. I mean, I know like Herschel Walker. He had fought when he was 48. I think he fought again when he was 49. He was ripped and shredded. He's always in phenomenal shape. Yeah. But he had never, like, it was not fighting the best guys. That was one. Two was he had never really been hit a whole lot before he started training at AKA. But Anderson's been doing it for a long damn time. Longer than I think longer than I have been doing it, and he's continues to do it after I'm doing it. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I'm very impressed, by the way. Very impressed. Yeah, I had no desire. No, John. Let's not even bring that up. Okay? No desire.
No desire.
All right, guys.
Done.
Before we rip into this show, you guys know the routine, man. Okay, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, on all of our audio platforms as well. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all of those other platforms on our audio platforms. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little notification bell. We want to thank you guys. Share our videos and our content to everyone that you guys know, like, and would like to learn about MMA. You know, that's one thing. I've actually had someone reach out to me just the other day and said, hey, I sat down. I actually have my wife listen to you guys now because she wants to get into it because I watched so much of it. He's like, and she actually understands now by your guys' breakdowns. So that makes me feel a lot better knowing that we're really breaking it down enough to where people that have never watched the sport and females that are not really fully involved in it and now being able to educate them. So that to me is important. I feel good about that. I want to thank whoever sent me that. Sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I want to thank you for those kind words. And I'm glad. Thank you. But hit the subscribe button so you guys can share our content and get it all around. We're trying to grow this channel and blow it up so we can get to that next level. All right, let's get into some stuff there. What are we going to talk about? Look, there's not a lot of action going on. There's no fights this weekend.
No
Happy
fights
Thanksgiving
on
to everybody.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yep, on Thanksgiving week and weekend. So you guys, we're going to do a lot of fan questions, a lot of news. We're going to have a lot of fun. And we've got some announcements coming up, too, that we're going to have for next week's show because there is no fights this weekend. So we're going to talk about for next week's announcements.
You want to hear an announcement? I got an announcement for you.
What's the announcement?
I have an anniversary tomorrow.
Oh,
37 fucking years, dude. I have been married 37 years. I look in the mirror now and I go, holy shit, how in the world am I this old?
You know what I want to know, right? This is what I want to know. I want to know how in the hell Miss McCarthy put up with your ass for 37 years.
Prime
That's
beef,
what I
baby.
want to know. That's what I want to know. I've been around the two of Miss McCarthy and Mr. McCarthy over here, and I'll tell you right now, I don't know how she does it. This guy, I swear, this guy would be so lost without Miss McCarthy.
She has put up with more shit with me, man.
I know. I see. It's so funny because now I know why she is the way she is, because she's had to deal with you. Because the way she talks to me, I'm like, yeah, you got to deal with him for a while. I'm like, nothing. You just squashed
made her
me dead.
hard.
Oh, she's a very strong.
You know what,
strong
Craig?
woman.
And this is the God honest truth. It's so funny because she does. You know, she's managed my career and stuff, and she takes care of all the crap that I would never take care of, and she does a great job. But everyone thinks I'm so nice. And they're all deathly afraid of my wife. And so to my wife, Elaine, happy anniversary. I love you, babe. You're awesome. And
Yes.
and she even gives Josh a hard time. So that's the best part.
She does give me a hard time. Because she gives me a hard time because when we're in Hawaii, waitresses call her my mom. That's why it really pisses her off. Oh, is this your mother? I'm like,
Woo.
oh, it's
You're
so
gonna hear it
great.
over
I
that
love
one now.
it. I love it. Well, Miss McCarthy and John, I want to wish you guys a happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir.
Many more to come. So.
Yeah, I went back when we were like, I honestly said this to my wife one time when it was our 30-year anniversary. I said, babe, you know, hey, it's time. And she goes, what do you mean it's time? I said, it's time. I go, you know, you get to retire from a job at 30 years. You should be able to retire from a marriage at 30 years too. Right? And she tells me this is her line. And she goes, good, let's do that. And I get half. Right? And I go, hell, you get half. You get the whole thing right now. If we get a divorce, I get half. So I'm coming out 50% up, man.
Oh, that's so funny.
This is the kind of crap she has to put up with.
And she flows with it pretty well, considering
She does.
Oh man. But yeah, happy anniversary to you.
Thank you, sir. Let's
All
go.
right.
Al Iaquinta, the Raging Al, who I've really enjoyed watching him throughout his career, but he is saying he's done. It's not worth it anymore, and I think it's the right thing to do when your heart's not in it, and we talk about it all the time. It is time to step out because this is not, it's not a game. You don't play MMA. It is the real deal. And if you are not 100% in, get out. And he's got a great, real estate career going. He's doing fantastic with that. But I love, from the time that he came on the scene, that people really started to see him was the Ultimate Fighter. I think it was Ultimate Fighter season 13 or something like that.
No idea.
Because I had a guy out of my gym that was in there with him, and it was Al that ended up beating him in the semifinals to go to the finals against Chiesa. And he lost that fight. But, it's he's put on some great fights. He's been a tough dude, tough out for a lot of guys. He had that one, long streak where he had a lot of wins. Some of them, you look, the George Masvidal. There were people that would tell you that they thought, Masvidal won that fight, but he got the nod by the judges, and he went on a pretty good win streak for a while. So congratulations on a nice career, and I'm glad you're getting out when you say, hey, this isn't fun anymore. Almost like Josh is saying it's not fun anymore.
Yeah. Like here's the thing. Like he said, he looked back and he watched the Chandler and Gaethje fight, and he's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be me. He has no desire to be those guys. And he's done what he's needed to do. That's the other thing too, is like once you get to fighting someone like a Khabib, right? He's fought Khabib. He fought him for the interim. Was the interim title or was the real title?
No, that was the title.
That was for the real title. So he gets there, he fights Khabib, he doesn't get the win, but he's in there, goes 5 rounds of them, has a good performance all things considered that went on during
because
that
he was
week
supposed
for
to
that
fight. He was supposed to fight Paul Felder.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit of a change in opponent and styles and stuff? Holy Christ.
Yeah. So just a big step up for him and just trying that. Once you've got there and you realize that you didn't get it done then, it's almost like rewinding and going, gosh, I got to kind of start over again. You're not really starting over because you did the UFC a favor and they knew that. So they kind of like, hey, we put you in there. Let's go ahead and try and do something. But then after that, there was a little bit of time where he went back and did some real estate, came back. When you're doing another side job that's fully kind of committed to you, that's bringing you your bread and butter in, it's hard. It's really hard to be committed to both. And so he's probably doing a half-assed job. And not that he's not a great fighter or a good fighter. He's a really good fighter. It's just that it's hard. You've got to be fully committed. Like you said, you can't play fighting. This is not playing MMA. You're not playing boxing. You have to be fully committed in the fight game, whether it's boxing, whether it's taekwondo, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's MMA. You've got to be fully committed if you want to be one of the best. And he's got up to the top. He's never achieved that top goal, but he's got to the top, and he's fought a lot of the who's who. If you look at the people that he's fought, some of them now are still in that top rankings. Like you say, like a Masvidal, you know what I mean? Like those guys are there. And so I'm glad to say that those guys that hang on too long are the ones that we get concerned about.
Yep.
This kid's a real kid. He talks about how, man, I don't want to do this. This is probably it for me. I'm done. I just don't want to do it anymore. And he's like, I'm not a quitter, but like in that moment when I was, wobbled and hurt a little bit, he's like, I wasn't out. He's like, I just was thinking to myself, I don't even want to be here.
Yep.
And then when you start telling yourself that, that's when you realize you're almost done or you are done.
You are done.
It's like, okay, look, you either need to find something that snaps you out of it, something that motivates you to snap you out of it, or just right off into the sunset, man. It's over. And I'm glad that he can actually come to grips with the fact, like, what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Are you still doing it? Like we've talked about this a bunch of times. Are you doing it for the money? Then fine, do it for the money. But he's got another job that sounds like it produces pretty decent money. Because every time he fights, he ends up getting a couple more contracts.
Hell yeah.
People want to buy.
One thing he's going to miss out of it.
Yeah, so there's that. But I think his name carries some weight probably in his local area. So he's probably pulling a lot of bids, whether it's selling a house or his people are buying houses.
Yep.
He's able to, to pull some bids that way. So I'm glad. It's always nice to see when fighters can realize that it's time. It's hard. Like that was honestly, it took me a couple of years to make that decision. I mean, it was probably about 2 years when I finally just decided like, hey, this ain't for me anymore.
Well,
I wanted to sleep on it.
Come on. We talked about it. You came to me and said, hey man, I've been thinking this. What do you think? We talked about it, and man, when you're having those questions about doing this, and hey, is it fun for you anymore? Are you enjoying the process? Because you got to enjoy the process, even though it's miserable at times. That's when you got to say you have to enjoy it, because to go through that misery and being miserable about it just makes it to where, man, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest part, I think, for me, John, was that I left a lot of money on the table. There was a ton of money still left there. I was like, I can just do it 3 more times. Well, there's a lot of things can go wrong in 3 fights, and for the amount of money I was getting paid, I mean, I left a lot of money on the table. And so you start questioning, like, okay, what do I want to do? Then when the opportunity came to become an analyst for a longer term, period, and they said, hey, we'd like to lock you down for a little bit. I said, okay, look, then I'll finally announce my retirement. This is good. This is a sign. Like, hey, this is something that I needed. I need to have. Sure, I'm not making what I'm making, being a fighter, but I'm also not getting punched in the face. I get to talk about what you love to do. Now with him, he's got an alternative, which is great. He's got the alternative, doing real estate, and I wish him nothing but the best in that. And I think it was a brilliant decision on stopping fighting. If your heart's not in it, you got to bounce out. Just, it doesn't mean you stop loving it. It doesn't mean you stop training, probably. Just keep doing what you're doing, but, don't get punched in the face anymore. And he's a real guy. Like, I've been out with him. He's a great, great kid, man. I call him a kid because he's a little bit younger than me, but when I hung around with him, he was fun. We did trap and skeet in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We had a great time. He's the only guy out there ripping his shirt off, shooting shotguns, boom, 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 just having a blast. Just a great, great person, all around great person. So I wish him nothing but the best.
There you go. Al, thank you very much for the great entertainment, the good times, watching you have some incredible moments, and the best of luck to you and everything that you do in the future. The best of luck in your real estate career. And then, you know what? You gave it all. You don't have to feel bad about anything. You were awesome. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right. What's next? What you got for us? Podcast, Dave?
All right.
Come
let's
on,
hop
Dave.
into this next one. John
This one
Jones
cracked me.
announced. Yeah, John Jones came out and announced that this is what he's tweeted. Breaking news, I'm excited to announce that I'll be competing for the #1 grappling organization in the world, Fury Grappling, December 9th. I'll be in New Jersey competing against WWE superstar and undefeated Bellator heavyweight Jack Swagger. Then Jake comes out and says, first of all, it's AEW and undefeated Bellator heavyweight Jake Hager. Secondly, no terms have been discussed or contract signed. We can talk if terms are right. John comes out and says, come on, people, let's get Jake to 1 million followers. Sorry, I didn't know who you were. Laugh out loud.
I thought we talked about this last week.
No, we didn't talk about this.
No, we got to it.
We were going to, and then we let it go.
Got it. Okay, so you obviously know that John Jones knows who he is. That's one thing. So, and I think that obviously they're playing the shtick. It's the shtick back and forth. They're eventually going to probably get this thing signed. They're going to have a little bit of fun with it.
That's what I
like. I like John's having fun with it a little bit, and I think that what he's doing is he's trying to be the big brother. He's like, I'm going to show you that I'm the bigger, better athlete than you. Not just that, but I'm the bigger star than you. I don't know if that's true because the AEW and the WWE, all that type fan stuff is pretty damn big. But I mean, it's pretty kind of close, I think. But regardless, I think it'll be fun. Like, let's not forget, Jake Hager is a good wrestler. He was a 2-time All-American at the University of Oklahoma.
Yep.
I know that he's what, 6'8"? I think he's what he is.
No, he's not. He's about 6'5", 6'6".
6'6", okay, 6'5".
But he's every bit as long as John.
As John, yeah. So it makes for fun. I had a little chance to wrestle with him in Hawaii.
He's a good wrestler. Look at he won 30 matches his senior year at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
he can wrestle, and not that John can't wrestle, but Jay can wrestle and still can wrestle, and it's not professional wrestling when it comes to it. If it was a fight, John Jones got it. He's just a better overall fighter. In grappling, he may be the better submission guy, but wrestling wise, he's not better. He may be as good, but he's not better. So he's going to be going up against a big guy too, because look at Hager's weighing in at 265. He's going to be up there. He probably,
Submission's going to go to John Jones.
I said that.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that he's not better. I thought you said he's not better.
I think submission wise, I think he may be better in submissions and stuff. I'll give him that. But as far as wrestling, he's not better. He may be as good, but
Jake can wrestle.
Jake can wrestle.
And I know I'm smaller. You guys, I'm a lot smaller. Not even a little bit smaller. I'm a lot smaller than Jake Hager. Okay, but I mean, he's still got a little bit of a fast shot. He's got long reach.
Oof.
He's still pretty strong. He has technically sound technique, and for a big guy like that to be able to get down on an ankle pick on me, it was pretty nice, pretty impressed. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but regardless, I got to tip my hat to the big guy for getting his big ass all the way down there to fucking snatch my ankle. I was like, man, I didn't even think you were that flexible. I was like, shit.
And again, he's got an 80-inch reach, so
yeah, something like that. But still, it was fun to see, fun to tussle around with him a little bit. He's a big boy though. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's so fun to be around. Like all the stuff we did with him in Hawaii for the troops and everything. He's just energetic and just a great person. So yeah, I think I'd love to see that. It would just be fun. It'd be fun to see, and good luck to both of them. Next.
All right, this next one, from over the weekend, did you guys catch the Hamzat versus Jack Hermansson wrestling match?
John's got a lot to say about this. So John's got a lot to say about this.
Well, okay, let's just be honest about it. And I'm not putting anyone in any bad spot, but Chimaev was smart. He said, I'll do a wrestling match. Well, Hermansson's not a wrestler. Hermansson is a grappler. He's a guy that does jiu-jitsu. So when you say we're going to wrestle, that's not grappling, because that's a specific sport that is obviously slanted towards the skill set of one Chimaev. Okay? Khamzat was smart. He says, I'll do a wrestling match. He didn't say I would do a grappling match, which would bring in the submission where I think Hermansson might have had a better opportunity to showcase his skills. He was, a little bit out of his element. He did okay. He got tossed a couple of times, but he hung in there tough. He never got put in horrible positions. You can see, and here he tries to toss him to his back, but he's always fighting it off. It's just not his game. So I look and I go, it was interesting to watch. It was one-sided as far as the skill set for wrestling, and that's what you expected off the beginning.
Do you remember that from, I want to say it was back in like 98 maybe 99, but I think it was like maybe it was 97. Remember they did the Frank Shamrock, Dan Henderson.
Called the Contenders.
Dan Henderson. Yeah, it was called was it called the Contenders? I thought it was
Contenders.
Extreme something.
No, because it was
wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, right?
Well, yeah, it was John Peretti who did Battlecade Extreme Fighting. Well, he put together it was called the Contenders, and it was wrestlers, Dan Henderson being one who went against Frank Shamrock against submission guys. And it was an interesting, they did a good job. There was some good matches in there and stuff, but yeah, it didn't go over well in pay-per-view because people are not that in tune to grappling. It's they want to see they want to see punches and kicks. They want to see knockouts.
But when you look back at that, right, it was very skewed towards the jiu-jitsu and the grappler because the wrestlers didn't really know a lot about submissions at the time. Absolutely. And the ones that did know something about submissions, it was like it still favored the top-level jiu-jitsu guys like a Hoist or whoever else was competing.
Yeah,
or whoever.
I'm trying to remember Matt Hume was in it. And I can't remember who Matt. Can't remember who he competed against, but Matt Hume was in it. And a great submission guy, and he won the match. I want to say, was it Kenny Monday? Can't remember. Yeah. But,
yeah, Kenny Monday.
Was it? There you go. Well, look at that.
That's still Volt. I guess you still got a little bit. Good guess. Good guess.
Good guess.
Oh, man. Yeah, but this is like kind of more of a one-sided situation when you're just talking wrestling.
Yeah.
No submission attempts, having to go belly down versus going to your back and pulling guard and hitting submissions or attacking on transition. Yeah, I got you. I understand. All right, what's next, Dave?
All right, next story comes from Dan Hooker's Twitter, or Instagram rather, and he showed a video of himself on the scale weighing 145 pounds.
Mm-hmm. What is he? 6'1", 6 foot, 6'1", weighing 145. I mean, I don't know if his chin's going to be the same, but I think body-wise, I mean, he's obviously going to be a lot bigger than all of them. But if you compare him to, say, like a Conor McGregor, look how dominant Conor was, and he's got good stand-up. I wouldn't say it's as good as Conor's, but it's effective. Excuse me. And, if I look at that weight class, I would love to see him and Max Holloway. I'd love to see guys. I'd like, who else is in that weight class there to fight at 145? You got him, Max,
so many.
Yair, Zombie. I mean, you've
Ortega.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton.
Calvin Kattar. Him and Calvin Kattar would be a freaking barn burner.
Him and Arnold Allen would be good.
You know what I mean? So, Korean Zombie, Calvin Kattar, Yair, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway. I mean, if he's gonna come to 45, I'd like to see him fight Calvin Kattar first. Get him right into that mix.
Damn, look at you. You got no sympathy.
Or Giga. How about
Giga Chikadze?
Giga Chikadze would be a great fight. Him and Giga would be great. I like to see that fight.
Zabit's the same size as him.
What?
Zabit's the same height as him.
Yeah, but Zabit's not in that. He's not there. He's not back yet.
Yeah,
but no, I understand. Zabit
supposedly coming back.
Supposedly, yeah. He said his coach is saying that his issues are starting to heal up and he's getting better and everything. The motivation's back again. So hopefully we see him come back because I believe he can be the champ. I truly believe it.
He's everywhere.
He's gonna need a tune-up fight, but
yeah.
I don't know if there's a whole lot of tune-up fights in that weight class, though, to be honest. Fucking poor guy. I mean, you're going to come back. I mean, you're not going to get a tune-up fight until you get all the way down to, like, Yusuf. Like, maybe him and Shane Burgos. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Shane Burgos is not an easy fight for anyone, man. That's a tough dude.
No, that's the thing. I mean, like, I got to give him a name value. I don't know, man. Edson Barboza? That's not an easy fight either. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to just come back after.
The real thing to look at, though, in that situation is, okay, he can make the weight, we'll say, because he made it this time. But what effect does it have on him? And what effect does it have on his performance? Is that cutting too much weight? Like you said, is that going to affect his chin? Because many times when you dehydrate yourself to that point, it has a serious impact on your ability to take any type of shot at all, and shots that you would walk through all of a sudden are wobbling you and you're in trouble. So we're going to have to see, and we'll have to see. Is it a good move, or is it one that, you know what, it's too much? And the other part is, look, when you go down, those sons of bitches are faster. Okay, and yes, you've got length. Yes, you're strong. But, man, speed's a bitch because when you can't catch that guy, that's trouble. He starts lighting you up and you keep on reaching and you're not touching him. So there's a balance there, and you have to look at that and weigh that balance and say, is it worth it and is it the right move?
Yeah, I agree. But hey, if he does make the weight and and his chin holds up, I wish him nothing but the best, man. I really appreciate guys that can do what he does. You know, he's stuck around. He's still here. I believe he's at the UFC Institute in Vegas. He's just trying to keep his weight down. He realizes going back home is not really an option because of all the quarantine situations going on over there. I mean, it's a shit situation. It sounds like, what they're doing over there for them. So in terms of athletes having to go back and forth.
But wasn't he able to bring his family out with him?
Yeah, his family's here now.
Yeah,
that's why. Big reason
good.
why he's staying.
Yeah.
So he's made enough money now where he can afford. I think the UFC's probably helped take care of him so they can fill him in wherever he needs. But nothing but love for him, man. I love when guys are called on short notice, guys that can just step up. He reminds me a little bit of that Donald Cerrone. You know, hopefully he gets to the opportunity and works his way back up to a title shot because I think he's still young. What is he, like 24?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Yeah, he's young. 24 or 26. Yeah, he's
Are you kidding?
Yeah, he's young. He's 24 or 26, I think. Yeah, I think he's young.
There we go. It's 31.
Oh, Jesus. Where the hell do I get 24? Where the hell do I get 24
Hey,
or 26?
I don't know, but he's loving you because you're making him young as shit.
Hey, whatever, man. I love guys that just come in and fight, man. That's awesome. Tip my hat to him. All right, next.
All right, let's talk about this hilarious Twitter exchange that happened today. Jake Paul, basically Nate Diaz and Jake Paul, right? They've been going at it. Jake Paul says to Nate, "You have 6 times as many losses as Ben Askren. Let that sink in." And Nate Diaz says, "He sucks, Jake. You'd get smoked in a real fight, though. You can't really fight. Boxing matches with wrestlers only. Let that sink in." Ben decides to chime in and says, "Nate is right. I sucked at boxing. He sucks at MMA. If he wants me to prove it, I can be in the USADA pool tomorrow. Would be happy it'd be the last fight in his contract." Jake Paul says, "I own the entire city of Stockton. Let that sink in." And Askren says, "You would have to be an idiot to think Nate beats me in an MMA fight." It doesn't end there. Askren then says, "Real men run towards danger, cowards run away." And there's a picture of Askren getting kneed in the face by Masvidal and Nate Diaz running away from Masvidal.
I don't think he's running away. He is coming in for a flying sidekick, actually going towards Masvidal because no one from the 209 runs away.
You obviously didn't watch that fight.
That's
John.
my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's the opening bell right there when Masvidal runs across and just thinking about throwing the flying.
That was exactly what it was like the first start of the fight.
Yeah.
I thought it was
like,
great.
I'm not going to end up as your highlight reel, dog. We're good. Nah. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's good banter all the way around. I still believe that Nate, and I said this over a month ago, I still believe Nate is just going to fight his last fight, and he's going to bounce out, potentially try to work on a fight with Jake Paul or whoever else in a boxing.
Okay, before you go any farther with that, since you say that he's going to fight his last fight, who will his last fight be?
You know, it's really going to come down. Here's the thing. The UFC is going to try to get him beat. They're going to try to get him to fight whoever. Somebody in the top probably 5 or 6, not in 5, 6, 7, 8. It's really tough.
You know they want him to fight Chimaev.
Yeah, if he turns it down, that extends his contract for 4 to 6 months.
I know.
So they're just going to keep offering him the Chimaev fight. You know, they want him to fight Chimaev, and it's like not a good fight for him at all.
No, they want Chimaev to have that name on his record.
Yeah, but that's not a good fight for Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz should turn it down. But the problem is every time he turns it down, it extends his contract.
There you go.
So
and he wants to box the man he's talking with.
Yeah, Dave, pull up the rankings. That's why Jake's chiming in, because he knows that there's probably already been some buzz between the two of them behind closed doors talking about, let's make this shit happen. Let's make some money. Like, if you're going to put him in there with somebody, he doesn't want to quite, they're going to try to put him in, I would say, with someone like a Bilal Muhammad. I mean, maybe a Stephen Thompson, because he ain't taking Stephen Thompson down.
No.
You know, and Stephen's going to piece him up on the feet. You know what I mean? Steven can handle the cardio, the pressure, all of that stuff. He fights really well under pressure. I mean, I understand. I believe the Chimaev thing is the most real situation. I want to know why it's Monday and Sean Brady's still at number 14. That's what I want to fucking know. You guys got to fix that shit. You guys got to fix that. But I mean, I could see them potentially giving him someone like a Sean Brady. I could see that happening.
I don't know. If you want to have a fight that seems to would be entertaining at that, in the welterweight, if you're going to have Nate stay at 170, I think Ponzinibbio, that would be a fun fight.
Yeah. But then remember when Nate came out and he said, I ain't fighting nobody unless it's in the top 3? Well, that just fucks you up. Because now you're just going to keep extending your contract.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you someone in the top 3 on your last fight on your contract.
No.
Now, look, you guys, when I say that I think he's going to leave, I have no fucking clue. Okay. I don't have the insider track on that. I'm just simply saying that I believe at this moment right now, he's leveraging one of two things. He's trying to get more money than he normally gets for him to stay. That's what the Diaz brothers have done. They've done it forever. That's what the Diaz brothers have done, and they've done it forever. Okay. I won't say we came up together, but we've been around in the same organizations. We've lived in the same area. I'm friends with Jake Shields, Gilbert Melendez. We all talk. We talk about, hey, this is kind of how we want to approach our contracts. Fighters talk, especially us in the Bay Area. We have found ways to communicate with each other and like, hey, what are you making? Hey, you doing well? Like, hey, how'd your contract go? And we just figured it out, and I really believe he's either leveraging the Jake Paul situation to go to boxing, or he's to get more money in the UFC for him to stay, or he's really he's really thinking about bouncing out to get that fight. Because all he's got to do is fight Jake Paul. Say one time, and I'm sure there's an automatic repeat. What's it called? Rematch clause in it. If he beats Jake, they're gonna fight again, and it's gonna end up being a bigger pay-per-view the second time. And so they're gonna make a ton of money. I'd say that probably between the two of them for those two boxing matches, they probably make anywhere between $8 to $15 million. And that's more than he is making in the UFC. I'm just being honest.
All right.
And so if that's the case, he's only got to fight 2 times to make, let's say, if he makes 8, so $16 to $18 million for 2 fights. That's more than he's made in any of his UFC fights. So why not? Why would he not go and bounce out? I mean, I don't know I can't say really what he made for the Conor fight.
The second Conor fight, he made very good.
Conor fight, I'm sure he made really good money.
It wasn't 8, but he made good money.
Yeah, he made good money. So I mean, he's doing well, but I think he understands that Jake Paul is not any of these guys. He's not a Gilbert Burns, a Colby Covington, a Leon Edwards, a Vicente Luque, Steven. Jake Paul is not any of those type of guys.
Nope.
And in boxing, when you have to worry about getting kicked, Nate's biggest weakness is not learning how to check kicks, and he's not physically strong. So those are his weaknesses. He can't wrestle. He's not a very good wrestler. He's got a great guillotine, great triangle, great submissions. Okay, but he's got good boxing. It's long. He knows how to stick and move. But his issue is leg kicks with the calf kick coming in now. It's going to take away from a lot of what he does, and people are figuring that out. And so I think that it'd be smart for him to bounce out, get those 2 boxing matches. He's got to beat Jake Paul the first time, otherwise he ain't getting a rematch. If he beats him the first time and they fight the second time, that second one will be even more. And if he beats him again, if he loses to him the second time, I mean, I could see possibly a third depending on how close it is. But I could also see if he beats them twice, that they both just ride off into the sunset, take their money and run, which is beautiful. Huh? So that's something you want for someone who's at his age. What is he, 33? Nate's what, 33? Oh, 36. So he's 36. Yeah, just do it, man. Like that, he wants out. That's my personal opinion, because you don't want to fight those guys in Murderer's Row in the top 10 in the UFC, because that's what he's been doing his whole damn career. He's been fighting the best guys. He's been staking his claim like, I'm going to whoop all these dudes' asses. So, I'm a big fan of his. That's why. So, I like what he does. I think he should leave and he should fight Jake and make the money.
I'm all for it.
What do you think?
You take a look and you say, he's done it all. He really has. The only thing he hasn't done, he hasn't won that title. Okay? Yeah. I don't think he cares as much about titles as he cares about greens. He cares about the Benjamins. And
Which greens? He cares about both greens.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He cares about the green.
Greens.
He cares about the greens. He cares about the Benjamins, and he cares about the ganja. And it's all okay. It's all good, man. Hey, it's I
love it.
Take a look at a guy that has made a shitload of money.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing good, and he continues to do better. He's invested in a lot of good stuff. If he takes those fights with Jake Paul, he's going to make a lot more money, and he's set. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to look at it too. He's got a family now. He's got, a little one, and I think it's just it starts to wear on you. Like, okay, look, life after fighting is real. When you hit that 35, 36, 37-year-old, man, you start life after fighting is real. You start thinking about that type of shit.
Yeah, and
you want to be around.
Yeah.
So,
got other things that are important.
Yes. All right, guys, go to mybookie.ag. Like I said, mybookie.ag. Use that promo code weighing in. And when you guys use that QR code right there, they're going to give you a little bit of extra spending cash for your first time when you sign up. So make sure you guys go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in. Now, all the sports are developing right now. I was at a hockey game last night. I put a little bit of money down on that. Came out a little bit on top. I bet on the Capitals against my San Jose Sharks. Came out on top. I know. I'm one of those guys. So bet against the hometown team. I understand. But, hey, money was on the table, and I had to make sure that I got the win. Caps came out on top. Now, football's coming up. My Chiefs are playing Dallas this weekend. I'm going to stay away from that, by the way. That's one of those games I'm a little nervous about. But a little extra spending cash at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in. They're going to give you some extra money with that QR code right there. And you guys just enjoy the sports season that is available right now. Plenty of things to bet on. Now, with the MMA stuff coming up in December, big time pay-per-view card for the UFC. Bellator's last card, December 3rd, is an absolute barn burner of a fight. Plenty of fights on that card for you guys to put some money down on. So let's have some fun. John and I will be doing our special segment of weighing in on the odds, and you guys can get your information from us to go ahead and make a little bit more money at mybookie.ag. Use that promo code weighing in.
All right, let's hop into some fan questions now. We're going to hop into this first one here from Jake Saint. Hey guys, been a huge fan of the podcast since the beginning, and I'm always refreshing my page ready for the next upload following a fight. Not the most serious question, but I've been watching Game of Thrones, and I can't help but think that Josh has a doppelganger in Jaime Lannister. Again, love the podcast. Keep up the good work. Much love from Nova Scotia, Canada.
Nova Scotia. I love you guys. I love you guys. Got some good lobster up there, by the way. So, yeah, it's bomb lobster up there. Good lobster fishing or lobster, whatever, lobstering, I guess is what you call it, right? But yeah, no, I don't think I look anything like him. But hey, whatever, man. The guy's rich. He's famous. Hey, I'll take it.
Dude, like, you know what?
He's rich.
I'm gonna put it out there. Jaime Lannister started off as a weirdo who was banging his own sister.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I know. So I was thinking, you know what? No.
Yeah, right.
But he does kind of look like you, Josh. And I will say, he ended up being a fucking pretty stand-up dude near the end, man. He actually kind of went, the right way, even though he was still the weirdo that did the stuff. But no, he doesn't really look like you.
Even at the end, he was banging his own sister.
I know.
He was still
really
banging his
bad.
own sister at the end.
I
I don't know how I feel about that. And then he lost one hand, so he can only jerk off with one hand now. That's not.
Yeah,
that
but
sucks.
dude, that made him ultra good at that side.
Yeah, that's possibly true. Yeah. I bet his forearm strength was fucking on point. So. All right, next.
All right, next question comes from Dylan Warren. Hey John, you refereed the fight that made me an MMA fan, which was Law McDonald 2. Could you explain your thoughts of the fight while the fight was happening, ranging from the damage you were seeing occur and the epic moments it provided, such as the stare down at the end of round 4? Thanks for the great content, guys. Keep it tall, long, and lanky. You two junkyard dogs.
Oh, I like that, man. He pulled it all in there. That's good. I've talked about this before with Rory and Robbie. There was a lot going on that people that are just watching, they don't understand. What happened in the beginning of that fight is Rory got his nose broken in the first round, and then it got hit again in the second. He was aspirating blood, meaning that he had blood running down the back of his throat, and he's swallowing that, and that doesn't mean anything because, eventually you swallow enough, you're going to puke it out. But it's when he's breathing, because he can't breathe through his nose, he was gulping air through his mouth, which means that little particles of blood, little droplets, are actually going down into his lungs and starting to take away his lungs' ability to effectively, disperse the oxygen throughout his body that he needs to have happen. So that was one element that was happening in the fight. And you could see as the fight was going on how he would have moments of, he would have energy, and then he would tend to die off when he would do something that took that energy, and he would die off pretty fast, and it took him a while to come back. And every round, when it got to the end, he was kind of having problems, not that he was having problems so much in the fight. There was times he was doing well at the end of the round, but he was putting out a lot of energy, and he would come back the next round, but then start to tail off a little bit. Robbie had multiple things. He had about a 3-inch gash on the top of his skull, and he had the tear in his lip also and stuff. So
That
when
iconic picture of him yelling and that thing was just fucking wide open.
The best one, Dana White almost fucking shit himself when because fucking Robbie said something and his fucking lip kind of flopped, and Dana White was like, "Oh my God, get that away from me! I can't take that." I was laughing. It was like, for a guy who's watched all these fights and stuff, Dana's squeamish about certain things. That cut lip was one of them. It was funny. But
it's one of those things when you see that picture of him yelling,
awesome.
Robbie Lawler yelling, and it's just pulled open.
Awesome.
How painful that must have been to yell at that moment, going, and then that shit's just splitting even more probably. Oh, God, it makes me cringe.
So what happened at the end of the fourth round, is I come in between them because, you'll see me put my arm in between them because I use that as my ability to say whether something would be late as far as a punch thrown or anything, because there's a concept behind it. So I knew that Robbie was behind me, and they started to have just, that one word was said, and I see Rory turn from the one word, and he kind of starts coming back towards him. And the only thing that I was thinking, it had nothing to do with, you can take a look at that moment and people talk about it, and it's iconic and stuff. My only concern was that Rory got back to his corner so the cut man had time to work on him, because he needed to have things done. He was a fucking mess. He had cuts inside of his mouth that were bad. His nose was bad. He had cuts over the eyes. This is where you talk about those fights where eventually your body just starts to shut down. You're trying, you're doing everything, you're putting up with pain, you're putting up with discomfort, and you're telling yourself, I can go. And most of the time we'll always say that your body will readily go where your mind's already been. So if your mind is tough and you tell yourself you're going to go, you can continue to go until you've been in too many car crashes. And in that fight, he was in too many car crashes. Eventually his body shut down and his ability to stay up and to fight on was gone. But, the whole thing with that fourth round in between was I wanted him to get over to his corner. And so I said, hey, let's go. And he didn't want to back down from Robbie. And I could hear Robbie right behind me. And I said, hey, let's just go. Right. And I saw Stitch coming in, and Stitch is always, he's a great cut man. And he always comes in and he tries to meet the fighter before they get to the corner, because that's just extra seconds that he has to work with them. And so I saw him coming in. I knew that he was in Robbie's corner, and I wanted to get, Rory back to his so they could work on him. And that was the thing I was thinking about, at that time. And then when the fight got into the fifth, it was only, about a minute into the fifth, it was over and stuff. But unbelievable fight by both guys. They were both just, they both had that moment of time where both of them were just too goddamn tough for their own good.
If you guys haven't listened to what John just talked about, where Rory's body just shuts down. I do a quick little preview of what happened to me right after the Tony fight, and Dave cut a clip. It's in our clips channel. You guys can check it out. And
they need to check it out.
Yeah, it's exactly. I give you guys a full breakdown, and John knows what I'm talking about. Your body does, my brain was telling me I could keep going, and I kept going. And after the fight, I felt fine. But when I got back to the locker room and no one was around me and there's no more adrenaline, it's not the same. And so if you guys get a chance to go into our clip channel, I don't know what it's called. What's it called, Dave?
It's actually not in the clubs channel. Before we had a clubs channel, it's it's on the main channel, and it's called Josh Thompson Tells Chilling Story from Tony Ferguson Fight.
Okay, so if you guys can research that, you guys can, and it gives you. I try to give you guys a real feeling of what it's like afterwards. Like for fighters, when you guys watch us in the cage, we love that portion of it. We'd love to put on a show for every fan that's out there. That's what we want to do. Like John talks about, we're pretty much addicted to that feeling of win or lose. Sure, of course, it's better when you win. But knowing, like when you saw Chandler walk out of the cage the other day and then he was like, are you not entertained? It's that excitement of like knowing that you put on a fight for the fans that they're never going to probably forget. You know, and that's something you want to be, that you carry with you throughout the rest of your life.
You'll be remembered.
You laid it all on the line for that moment, and people are going to remember that. Someone's going to remember that, and that's all you care about. And so it's a really chilling story to even when I think about it now of what my body went through in the locker room, showering, getting stitched, all of those things. It's a reality when you're talking about Roy McDonald, same thing. And his body shut down in the cage, but it was also a 5-round fight. Mine was only a 3-round fight. I couldn't tell you if I could have won another 2 rounds, you know, with the type of damage I had taken in the first 3. Yep. So Roy's a fucking animal. He's a stud. He's been through the ringer so many times, came out on top so many times, didn't come out on top a couple times. Yep. But man, we say it all the time. There's those type of fights that just you leave a little bit of you inside the cage every single time. And eventually it adds up. And so it's hard. But I mean, overall, the fans were definitely entertained in that fight. It was one of the greatest fights in history. So it's look back, if you guys get a chance, go back and watch that fight and just see his body, what John was talking about. Watch his body start to break down a little bit as it goes on. You know, and then listen to what our clip, not our clips channel, but listen to that video that I did, you know, talking about the Tony Ferguson fight as well. So next.
Abayomi Maha asks, fellas, Colby claims he walks around at 180, similar to Conor, Khabib, and Dustin. They ain't making Colby versus Usman 3 soon. Could a move to 55 be his quickest route back to the title, especially if Poirier and Gaethje are champ? The rivalry with Colby is already there, and if there isn't champ, one win against either guy makes him number 1 contender. Hashtag and still.
All right, the last little bit you confused the shit out of me because you can't read. I get it. Yeah, there is a little bit of that drama with the Poirier and the Gaethje situation because with Dustin Poirier, he used to train with him. Poirier. People are giving me a hard time for how I say his name. John, how do you say his name?
Poirier.
Okay, that's how I say Poirier. I don't know why people keep giving me a hard time. Josh can't say his name. I thought it was Dustin
There's
Poirier.
an R in there.
Yeah, but it's not Poirier.
Poirier.
Yeah.
It's because it's from Louisiana. Come on.
Yeah, but they used to train together. There's a little bit of bad blood between them as well. And then there's the Gaethje situation because of the Usman situation. So because they train now, Usman and him train together. There's that back and forth they've had also online. Look, either way, I'd pay to see that fight. I just don't know if he'd be the same fighter at 155. I heard he has a little bit of a hard time making weight. People say he's at 180, but not a lot of. He's already kind of a lean guy. Not a lot of people can make that. That's a 15-pound cut on top of the 10 he's already cutting.
Well, it's a big cut from if he's 180, cutting down to 155.
Yeah,
you're talking about a lot of weight. That's 25 freaking pounds, man. It's not easy. We talked about Hooker earlier, but Hooker's going from 55 to 45. He's not going from 70 to 55. So that's the difference between those extra things. 5 pounds. They're huge.
Oh yeah, yep. So I don't know how I feel about that, Phil. How do you feel about that?
I don't think he can make the weight. I'm just being honest. I think he's a lean guy as it is. It's not like he's got a lot to lose. And I haven't heard where he's having a horrible time making weight, but I've heard that he's got to do a lot to get that weight off, which is normal, and that's why he's at 170. He's a big frame, and he would be a huge frame at 155. But it might take everything out of him because the one thing that, really makes Colby part of who he is his ability to keep pushing a pace, to have energy, to be able to be a guy that can break other guys with that pace and with that energy. And if you lose that, it changes who you are as a fighter. So I think he should stay right where he's at.
Yeah, he's not a fast guy either. And so when you drop the 55, those guys are going to be fast. You know, like if we were to pull up the 55, then Justin Gaethje is not a super fast guy, but if you start putting him in that mix with like who, Islam's not super fast. Chandler's explosive and fast. I mean, I guess not. I mean, I guess like none of the guys there are really that fast.
No.
Islam's not super fast. Chandler's fast. Dos Anjos is not fast because he's older. Tony's not super fast either. Hooker going to 45
Oliveira's pretty
possibly. Fast. Conor McGregor, Oliveira's pretty fast. Yes, you are right about that. Dustin's not fast, but I think he's on point. Like in terms of like, he's straight to the target.
He's accurate because he throws a lot of straight shots and then follows it up with power.
Yeah. Conor's fast, but I don't know. I don't really see a whole lot of guys. Yeah, maybe the guy's not at 55 or not that fast. I guess maybe you'd have a chance. It depends on how the weight cut goes. That's how it all goes down. Next.
Hold on 1 second here. From Snow Miser, should MMA get away from using a cage instead use a hockey rink style setup and be the same size as the cage, clear walls so you can still see everything and prevent cage grabs?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. We need to have hockey walls. We need to have walls and hard plexiglass for someone to ram their head into. Yes, that's a fantastic idea. I wish we would have thought of this sooner. Sorry.
I mean, is a cage really any different though? Is the cage any different?
Yeah, the flex of the chain link is at least enough to where it's not a hard object. It hurts. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's much softer than a hard plexiglass. Look, I'm telling you right now, they thought about using plexiglass in the very beginning, right? To try to make it to where people could, see through it and stuff like that. It was like, really? So I'm going to double leg someone and have them slam their head off of that plexiglass. It's not like they're wearing a helmet. Okay. This is like old hockey and stuff. And go ahead and figure out why they have helmets on hockey players now. Not like there wasn't enough concussions before. Right? Yeah, you don't want you can't have something in that fashion. Like I said, and like you're saying, the cage is hard enough as it is. It's not like, it's cushiony. It's not. Yeah. And you're gonna put something harder for the fighter? Come on.
I mean, John, you really got to come down to it. Like screw the fighters, man. It's all about the viewerships for the fans.
It's all about
being able to see what's going on.
I know.
I want to be able to see everything without any obstructions in front of me. I pay good money for those front row seats.
That's right.
I mean, I haven't paid for a front row seat ever, but you know what I mean. You know where I'm getting.
Oh yeah.
I'm being a smart ass, you guys. Sarcasm, you guys. Sarcasm. If you don't sense it when I'm coming from my mouth, please. You guys, I've got to follow along. All right, what else?
Next question from Joaquin Luna. For both, with more and more MMA stars becoming involved in pro wrestling, will this trend encourage MMA prospects to pursue pro wrestling over competing in MMA? For example, Gable Steveson choosing WWE, says pro wrestling like WWE offers competitive pay, a huge fan base, fewer injuries, and longevity for stars.
Fewer injuries?
What the fuck are you talking about? No way. Oh, man. Go ahead, John. No.
Someone go.
Okay, John. Gable Steveson choose WWE. Why did he choose WWE?
No, he did not.
No,
really.
He did not choose. He chose them, but he's like basically just an endorser.
Yes, he's an ambassador.
Endorsing them.
He's an ambassador.
He's an ambassador just for 1 year, by the way, because he's in college, and it's whatever that new program's called, the LEH or LHI or LHP or whatever it is for college athletes to get paid.
Yep.
He's allowed to get paid now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So he's an ambassador for the WWE. He will not step foot in that ring to actually really wrestle. But he will maybe go in there and like talk trash.
He'll be at the show.
Yeah, but that's it. He will not. There will be no exchanges with him.
There will be no touching.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So none of that will happen as of right now. I mean, maybe after his contract is up and he's done wrestling in college and all those situations and scenarios happen. But I do agree that they are paying. They do pay well. But in terms of less injuries, absolutely not. I have no idea where you got that. No, their career span is very short, and the reason why sometimes you don't see them wrestle as often is because they're fucking hurt. Like
Badly.
They rehearse these things forever. You don't think they jump off of that top belt or that top turnbuckle or whatever it's called
rope.
now, top rope, and the way they land, you're landing on somebody else. Their body is not just a flat board. Okay, and it hurts. When you land, you hurt yourself as well as you hurt the other person. So either way, whether you're doing the landing or you're the one being landed on, that shit hurts. So there's plenty of injuries that go along with it, a lot more than what you think in MMA, a lot more.
Yeah, it's a matter of if you're thinking that the WWE is the way to have a longer career. A lot of guys don't have longer careers, and a lot of guys, they fade out based upon. You're looking at working, especially if you're not the guy. You're working 200 and 250 nights out of the year doing this stunt work, because that's what it is. It's stunt work, and stunt work hurts. Those the bumps. They're real, and they're able to take them because they're trying to, give space in area, not fall flat on a guy. They're doing everything they can to protect their fellow worker, from injury. But sometimes, although they're trying, they get seriously hurt, and a lot of them have been seriously hurt. So it's not an easy thing. And to sit there and say, oh, that's the easier route, I'm not sure it is. And I always say this. I don't care what you want to do. If you want to be an MMA fighter, you need to put 100% into it, because no one can just step in there and make it happen with half an effort. Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen when an actor wants to fight and he's going to step in there with half an effort. But it's the same as with an MMA fighter wanting to be an actor. Hey, don't step in there with half an effort. You've got to put 100% into that and learn how to act, learn how to do these things. Same with pro wrestling. You'll see guys, get these little bits within the wrestling world, and it's a small bit, and they can carry that through. But if they want to become the wrestler, hey, man, that's a ton of work. That's a lot to learn, because you're not only learning the moves, you're learning how to not hurt your coworker. Okay, you're learning how to take the bumps and how to give the bumps without hurting somebody, because that's how you survive in this. So
let me educate you guys a little bit more on the outside of the rehearsals and everything else. A good friend of mine is Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, before, he was kind of a big deal, early in his career. Then he kind of fizzled out a little bit. He was kind of doing the MMA thing, going back and forth to WWE and coming back and forth, right? Then when I sat down and talked to him about this whole thing, he's like, look, it's a grind. Like John said, they're working 250 nights out of the 265 or whatever, 365 days, whatever it is.
It's one of those 200.
Like that. One of those 65, 3-something, 265, whatever. They're working that amount of nights every year. What it is, though, is that every weekend when he got done, Bobby'd say, I'm fucking done. I'm done doing this. I don't want to do it anymore. Because what happens is they know when to pay you. He gets home on, say, Monday morning or Sunday night after his last show, and then he flies home, and he gets home and he's like, I'm done. I'm not going back. Then his paycheck arrives on Tuesday afternoon. He's got to leave to go back on the road on Wednesday, or it arrives Wednesday morning and he leaves Wednesday night to go on the road again. He's like, shit, all right. He looks at the check and he goes back on. But you got to remember, though, too, on the road, it's not first class here and there. They fly into a certain area and then they land there. They get a rental car and they drive themselves to and from every venue. Yep. Sometimes the venue's 2 hours away. So what they do is they go and do their show. Let's just say they did it in Dallas, right? Then that night, after the show,
they're driving
they get
to
in the
Austin.
car and they drive to Austin. And then when they get done with Austin,
they get in the car
and they drive in San Antonio. They do a show there and they get done in San Antonio. They go to Houston. And that's their 4 shows for the weekend. And guess what? Then they fly home and they're like, I hate this. I never want to do it again. Now imagine 4 nights in a row, you just got lumped up, jumping off the top turnbuckle, doing all these other things that they're doing, bashing your head against them, getting kicked in the face, slapped across the chest. Now you got to sit in a car for 3 or 4 hours and drive your ass to the next venue that night. get in at 4 a.m, sleep until noon, 1 o'clock, and then go do it all again the next night.
And you have to work out in between all that.
Yeah,
Because you got to keep up the physique.
you got to keep the pump.
Not easy.
So it's not all peaches and cream, man. I know Podcast Dave, his inspiration is he aspires to be a WWE guy, but bro, look at his body. He will never be like that. He will never.
Hey, have you seen some of the
But,
guys? in
Dude,
there?
if David Arquette could be champion, so could Podcast
Jesus,
Dave.
man,
Exactly.
So embarrassing. So embarrassing.
Exactly.
David Arquette. What a guy. Oh, man, I can't believe you just spewed this nonsense.
I had
all
to.
over me.
Next one, Dave. Let's go.
All right, Exo Hype asks, for John, did you have to learn some words or phrases in other languages to communicate with different fighters from around the world while in the cage?
Absolutely. You learn certain things. But you cannot sit there and know all the different languages, at least not if you're me, because I'm too stupid to learn a bunch of different languages. But yeah, you know things in Spanish, you know things in Portuguese, you know things in Russian, but it's basically things like the word fight, the things as far as move, stop. Yeah. Honestly, that's what you're doing, because you've gone in the back, and in the back you've talked with an interpreter, and all those interpreters are not always exactly what you're saying. You're trying to say, hey, say this exactly like I said, and I need to know what he's saying in return. But you'll spend extra time with guys that speak a foreign language. Look, I've gone and done the most fights probably were 15 fights in Russia, with one or on one night. So you're working with 30 different fighters, and you've got to get them all to understand exactly what you're saying and what you mean by it and what you expect of them, because that's a big part of the actual fight game. Is if they're confused, then there's going to be problems. You don't want them to be confused. You want them to know exactly when you say something, when you say that word, that that's what you're going to do. It's when you get other guys out there like Matt Hamill. He was deaf. So you actually had to do certain things to make it different for him. You would give him hand signals. You would hit the mat to do a vibration for him. There was different things that you would do for him that he had said that would work for me. And so, you're going to change it up. But yeah, you're going to learn certain things, but you don't know how to speak the language.
Yeah, I've interviewed guys from Scotland, Ireland, and the UK. It's fucking like I needed a translator.
That's where you look and you go, all right, you're supposedly speaking the same language as me, and I don't understand half the words you're saying.
That's how I feel about fucking Podcast Dave sometimes. This guy, I have no idea what the hell he's saying. Jeez, there's like words that come out of his mouth. I'm like, are you speaking English at all? Like, come on. Oh, man.
Lord.
All right, next.
Jason Michaels asks, #Anstill, as MMA slows down with the upcoming holidays, will John and Josh get together and do a fight companion for us for the Kimbo versus Dada 5000 fight?
Reaction. Oh, that'd be a good
We
reaction.
could do that one. I'd do that one.
We should do that.
I'd really have to get my mental capacity and to have to rehash and relive that fight.
Jeez. Isn't it insane? That's still Still the number one viewed show in Bellator history.
Unbelievable.
I believe it is.
Yeah, probably.
That's insane. It would have had like 4 or 6 million views.
Well, the thing that you got to really look at is you look at that show, but then you look at all the shows that Kimbo was part of. Look at people love that guy. He had the most watched MMA fight of all time against James Thompson. That thing on national television, over 10 million views at the time.
Jeez.
It's
Elite XC, right?
Yep. Elite XC.
Jeez. That's insane. Was that the ear explosion?
Yep.
Yeah. Jeez, man, that was so long. It feels so long ago.
Because it was so long ago.
But he was marketed so well. What was his marketing guy? Icy Mike. Icy Mike. That guy's a stud, dude.
He is. I just saw him the other day.
Super
I saw him in Miami when we were there.
Absolutely amazing person. I've only interacted with him twice, I think.
Yeah.
Just real brief though, too. Just been around conversations where he's obviously he's worked a lot of the guys, from back in the day. I mean, I think he worked with Mazadov for a little bit, didn't he?
He's done some stuff. Like Icy Mike did a lot of things. He was very big into porn and producing porn and things like that. That's how him and Kimbo from when they were young, growing up, met. And so he used Kimbo as, a bodyguard for a lot of the people. And he was the one that told me, Kimbo was trying to figure out a way to make money. He goes, look, I've never seen you lose in a fight. How about we do some fights? And he started the backyard fights. And look at it. YouTube owes Kimbo Slice, because they made each other.
True.
They made each other. Back then YouTube was nothing. And that stupid fight between Kimbo and Big D in the backyard with the fucking giant satellite dish.
Yep.
That thing was monstrous.
That fight, and then what was the remember it was bum fights. Bum fights were out too.
Oh yeah,
on
bum
YouTube.
fights too.
Those were the things that kind of made YouTube famous, from what I recall. I mean, that was like
Yeah.
more my era of. I remember YouTube taking off, and then they started taking the bum fights down because I think they was like just unethical, I guess. They were giving bums cheeseburgers to fight. They were like, that's not gonna work, buddy.
Not right.
All right, next.
Michael Forte asks, if Dustin goes on to win the title and defend a few times, can he take the all light heavyweight GOAT title away from Khabib?
Lightweight. Buddy.
Yeah, I said lightweight.
You said light heavyweight.
Did I?
Thank you.
Oh, can he
You
take
did.
the sentence threw me off. That's probably why.
No, you
Can
just proved Josh right that we can't understand half the fucking words coming out of your mouth, but we heard those.
Yeah.
Can he take?
Because they were wrong. Go ahead.
You can't abbreviate these things. It's confusing.
That's
Can he
all right,
take
sorry.
all the
Lightweight. LW.
lightweight GOAT title away from Khabib? Even though he lost to him, he has a better resume than him.
Wow, hold on. We had a question, just what we were talking about. Not a question, but we were talking about GOAT status and everything. And now here we are. Dustin could take away the GOAT status of a guy that not only beat him but was undefeated, right? But there was no way Chris Cyborg could ever be considered better than Amanda Nunes, who's got 4 losses, and she does have a win. And this is where you look and you go, come on, man. He's got the win. For Dustin to be considered the greatest of all time, he would have to go on a hell of a run. A hell of a run. Against a whole lot of, the top people and just smash everyone for it to even be, in my opinion, considered. Look, Khabib did it 29 times. People would say whatever they want about, the level of competition. In the end, he was fighting the very best there was, and he was annihilating them. Annihilating them. Again, there's never been a fighter, I don't give a shit what weight class, that I ever stepped in the cage with that continuously, every fucking fight I did of theirs, dominated their opponents. 10-8 rounds most of the time. Okay? So, he beat Dustin, and he beat him pretty handily. All right? So, no, he's not going to be that guy that's going to be the greatest of all time. Is he a great fighter? Fuck yes. He's a phenomenal fighter. We've said it forever, and I love watching the guy. But get away from the guy, this whole GOAT status, man. It's talked about way too much when it shouldn't be, and we give credit to things that, it's like the whole, as soon as, the UFC puts something out as far as propaganda to build the person that is actually still fighting for them over the person that is now no longer fighting for them and has retired, of course they're going to back the person that is fighting for him. Of course that's the better person now. That doesn't mean it's true.
Ditto. I don't want to drag that one on because I know I can just ramble. It's basically going to say the same thing you said. I mean, I'm a big fan of Khabib, so I'm going to lean obviously towards him. That's just the homerness in me, and I'm very upfront about that stuff. But like I agree with you, Dustin would have to go on a hell of a run. And I said this is a similar thing with Cyborg the other day. My thing with Cyborg is that she had done it for 13 years undefeated.
Yep.
That's my only thing. Amanda Nunes, like, she beat Cyborg, and I get that, but she had never been on a big long run, like the 13-year long run. You understand? That's the only thing that if I'm going to compare the two. Khabib, sure, 29-0, but he didn't get to the top guys until the last 2.5 years. And then, he didn't stay long enough. And I understand that portion of it all as well. But I want people to remember, though, too, not a lot of people wanted to fight Khabib. People were turning fights down with him until they got to the title shot. Everyone's like, oh, I want to fight him. Of course you want to fight him because he's the fucking champion, or he's the most dominant guy that's ever walked the face of the earth. That's why people wanted to fight him, because they knew they'd get a little bit of recognition. They'd get their pay bump. But in the beginning, I'd cornered him several times in the beginning. People were like, yeah, I'm not fighting that guy. Nah. They didn't want to fight him. He couldn't get fights. There was times where he was like, I'm waiting for a fight. I remember in the training room, when you fight next, I don't know, UFC say no one wants to fight me. Okay.
They were lying to him.
No opponent yet. Why no opponent? Oh, no, people turned me down. I don't know. That's it. I understand. I get it. And once he started getting in the top 5, like, I'll fight him. And even then, they still didn't, like, sometimes they didn't show. There's guys that never even made it to the fight. All of a sudden, people were hurt. It wasn't his fault a lot of the times. Like, Islam's going through it right now. They're different. I know they're different in styles and they're different, but they're still good fighters. But he has the same issue. None of the guys in the top 5 want to fight him because they know that he's going to probably potentially beat him. They don't want to lose their spot. Anyways, next
question comes from Uppercut Cannon. Should Brian Ortega move to lightweight? I am adamant on seeing him transition up a weight class since he already seems huge for 145. The matchups are electrifying.
John, I don't think he should.
No.
I don't think he has a hard time cutting weight either. I mean, I stood next to him on the Fight Companion. He's tall, he's long, he's lanky, all of those things. He's thin. But he's not ripped, he's not shredded, he's not like he's cutting super amounts. He's a big guy, but he doesn't look like he's super imposing when it comes to like his physique. So I think if he wants to build a little bit of muscle and stay at 45, I think he could do that. I mean, he doesn't really seem like he needs to, though. He's got the only thing keeping him from winning the title, man, is he's ran into 2 fucking buzzsaws. 2 guys that are at the top. That's it, man. And you're talking, these 2 are the best in the weight class in the world. I mean, if you were to put all the guys in the top 145 pound, these 2 are the best. These 2, like, I put AJ in there as well, and I'll put Patricio in the mix in that a little bit as well. But with Volk and with him and with Brian, and Brian's in that mix too. I've always said this, in the top 5, I'll put AJ and Volk and Max. You can mix them up any way you guys want. I don't give a shit how you guys mix them up, okay? I don't care. You can put Max, you can put AJ, and you can put Patricio 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th, whatever. I don't care. But they're all in that mix, because when they come down to the fight, they're all going to intermix each other. Like, they're going to have different styles. Styles are going to make matchups in that situation. But he doesn't need that. I don't think he needs to go to 55. He's extremely good at where he's at. He's just ran into 2 buzzsaws. And I think if he fights Volk again, or if he fights Max again, it could be a different story. It really depends on who shows up that night and is able to have a performance. And that's how it's going to go. Look at the way that Yair Rodriguez had success against Max. I'm not saying that Brian can do that, but I think Brian has a pretty good chance of beating Yair because of his style in terms of jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu against Yair, if he can get him down, I mean, I don't know if Yair's going to be able to get the hell up. I mean, that's the difference. I don't think he'll be getting up. It'll be the ref waking him up and pulling him up. It might be that. I mean, that's his style of jiu-jitsu. If he utilizes his jiu-jitsu, I think he's got a good chance of beating Yair. So that puts him all in that mix as well. It really just comes down to who's the best fighter that night. And unfortunately, he's been on the wrong side in the championship fight. That's the only thing.
Yep. Ditto.
Oh, so you must ditto. There you go. Next
question from Muzaffar Ahmad asks, which current UFC fighters do you think can become champions if they switch camps/gyms?
Ooh. Why are they?
Wow.
Switching camps
/gyms. I don't know who would need to do that. Let's pull up the rankings here. Who could become champion if they switch camps? I mean, the guys, if they're in the top 5 or top 6, they don't need to switch camps. That's what got them there.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So it's hard for me to say. It's let me say this. I would say maybe Gilbert Burns, only based on the fact of this is that he's teaching at the gym that he's training out of.
Yep.
It's hard to be a coach and still fight and still train full time and still teach class. That's it. You got to make sure that you are the priority. It all turns. Right now, it's so short-lived. Don't be the coach anymore. Focus on being the champion, because he's the guy that and he doesn't have to leave the gym to do that either, though. All he's got to do is just stop teaching, and just focus more on not teaching. Get the rest. Go home and rest. Go home and spend more time, taking care of your body, doing all the things. As you get older, you're going to need to do that more. So it's not going to get easier as you get older. So you might as well try and do that now. I can't think of anyone else, man. I'm looking at these rankings right now. Like, I would say Paulo Costa, but the problem with Paulo Costa is that he's a knucklehead. So I don't know if that's going to help either.
I don't know. There's things that I look at, and it's, you take a look at Michael Chandler, and you take a look at his last fight. And this is why I would say maybe it's time for him to change camps, because he's not listening to his camp. He's not listening to his coaches. And if you're not going to be listening to your coaches, then why are you there? Why are you bringing those guys? They're the ones that are supposedly knowing what you need to do, and you're not listening to them. Because I heard Henry Hoof saying the exact right thing. Michael, this is what I need you to do. Michael, stop trying to be a tough guy. Michael. And he went out there and did everything that he wanted, nothing that Henry said. And so that's when I would say, hey, maybe it's time for you to move on, because you're not listening to the guy. So obviously you personally are in that position where that he's not getting through to you. And so that's when I would say maybe it's time for you to go to somewhere else. And look at Chandler has been in different camps. He was with Alliance before. He was with Extreme Couture before that. And then he went out to Sanford. So he's had different camps, but that's what I look for. I always look to see, are you not progressing, or are you not in a position where those coaches are able to hone you in, bring you back, center you up during the fight, and you're just off doing your own thing? If that's what's happening, then it's probably time for you to find somebody else.
Yeah. You know what? Now that I'm looking at this list, Darren Till.
I was going to say him too.
I can't say he'd be champion, but he needs to go to another location. Wherever he needs to go somewhere else. I think that would help him a lot. So, next.
All right. Yaz asks, why do you think Dana doesn't want more weight divisions? Do you think having more fighters get paid more and getting split of PPV is the main factor?
There wouldn't be any more weight division. It'd be one. It'd be one new weight division. That's it. Like, if you're going to add it, it's already there. John says it all the time. That weight division has already been created. But it's a matter of them utilizing it and bumping the 170 to 175. I don't think it has anything to do with the financials. I had a good conversation with Rich Chow about this type of situation as well. John and I were both standing there. Yep. He's like, look, what you're doing now is you're taking your best division, okay? Whether it's in Bellator, whether it's in the UFC, 155 is considered to be the best division. You're going to lose a quarter of those, maybe even more, to 165. And then the ones at 170, the ones that are going to try to go down, sure, they're going to keep them there. But then the ones that go to 170 or 170, they're going to go to 165. You're going to lose. You're going to split that division. That division is good, but it's not great. It's not great enough yet to split it in half or split it and say, like, lose a quarter of them down to 165. So now you've got two divisions that are kind of watered down because you added the one weight class. And that kind of started making sense to me. Because here, when you look at, like, if you look at the 155-pound division right now across the board, whether it's UFC, Bellator, One, and PFL, they've got a good group of fighters. 2 years ago, it was the greatest weight class across in the sport. But right now, the greatest weight class in the sport is 135. That's the best weight class in the sport. And I want to say last year in 2020, 145 was the best weight class in the sport. And the year before that, it was 155. It bounces around. And so to split 155 and 170 and then take them and split it apart and have a quarter of them maybe probably from 170 go to 65 and a quarter of the 155 go to 165, you're going to end up watering it all down a little bit. Just so what? You can have another belt. You can bank on having, another pay-per-view event every year that has that 165-pound title. I'm starting to understand it now from a promotional and business standpoint. I'm getting it. I still like the idea of having it because we had a lot of tweeners, you know, you had the Nate Diaz, you had Masvidal, you had Conor McGregor, you had certain guys, you know, that were in that mix that could make the weight class. It would be fun. Like a Colby Covington would probably go to 65, or Usman would probably stay at 75. So, but then that also would make it interesting. Would Izzy go? Would Izzy go from 85 to 75 now? Would we see that fight? That would be exciting in the beginning. Let's say for the first 2 years, it'd be fun. But after that, the dust settles. I think you'd end up with one of those weight classes being watered down.
So if you take a look at the weight classes there, 155 to 170, and if you take a look and you say, is it really watered down, especially in the UFC? I don't believe so, and I think that's an excuse. If you take a look at that lineup that they have with all of those fighters, you're looking at a ton of guys that are damn good fighters, that you're in your top 10, be it if you could leave 155 and have a 165 and then 175. Yep. You might have a couple that are tweeners, that are crossovers and things like that, but you're going to be still having those Sean Brady's, you're right, he shouldn't be at 14, but, you know, moving up a little bit, you'll have, you know, Ponzinibbio, Jeff Neal's in there. Yeah, you'll get certain guys, but you will get, I think Colby Covington could make that 165. Now you're talking a 5-pound drop instead of the 15-pound drop. I would say Colby Covington would be great at 165. That would be his weight class, and he'd be hard to beat. It'd be fun to watch. But in the UFC, there's no excuse for it. Bellator, yeah, I can understand where it would cause a matchmaker like Rich Chow problems as far as depth. But the UFC, I don't see the problem. And I only think it's, in my opinion, it separates them and makes it to where, look, we even have more champions. We do this, you know, because we have this slew of fighters. We're going to use this weight class. Open up that weight class, and you can say, you know, whoever it is, 165, you've got the only 165-pound champion. You've got the only 175-pound champion.
Let me see the weight classes here. Let me see the rankings, Dave. You have all this stuff in front of it. Look, Chiesa would be 65. Stephen Thompson, I think, would go to 65 also. Leon Edwards, 65. Gilbert Burns, 65. Covington, 65. You just lost 170 right there.
Bullshit. So you have Covington, you're giving Burns. You're saying Leon Edwards? I don't think so.
Leon Edwards for sure would be 65.
Luque would not be. You're saying
Luque would not be.
You're saying Stephen Thompson? I don't think he would be either. I don't think so.
Well, maybe at 37, maybe he wouldn't want to do it. But I think if it started, he would, only because who would he fight? I think it really, for him at his age, he would like to see who's left in 175. Because remember, it's not going to be 170 anymore. It's going to be 175.
I know.
So 85 pounders are going to drop down.
That's right. You're going to have some of those you're going to have, well, first one, Kelvin Gastelum. He'll be over at 175.
Darren Till.
Sean Strickland. He'll be over at 175. Darren Till. He'll be over at 175.
Those aren't guys that Stephen Thompson wants to fight.
That's
what I'm saying. He would drop to 65. So I'm just saying that if we look at this, you're wiping out the first probably 5 of the first top 170 pounders. They're going to go to 65.
I don't think
and that's
so.
what I'm talking about.
All
in terms
of them would.
Colby would.
I think
Gilbert
Colby
would.
should.
Leon.
I think Gilbert could. I don't know if he would.
He used to fight at 55.
Yeah, I know he did.
65, I think, would be his weight.
I would say 65 would be his weight over 75.
Vicente would stay. Steven, I think, would go to 50. I think he'd go to 65. Chiesa would for sure go to 65, even though he's big, he's huge. But I think he'd go, and Masvidal for sure would. I think Neil Magny would probably stay where he's at. Bilal would probably go to 65. Kazmat would probably stay where he's at.
Kazmat would definitely stay at 75.
He'd go to 75. He'd be like, 75? Hell yeah, I'll stay here. Jeff Neal, probably go to 65.
I don't know. Kind of heavy. Kind of big.
He's thick.
Exactly.
Sean Brady, I can see going to 65. He's thick though too, so it depends. We can talk to him about that. Yeah. But then that's a lot of your 170 pounders going to 65. Now from 170, who would go? Darren Till would go. Sean Strickland would go. Who else there?
Definitely not Uriah Hall.
No, not Whitaker. And then would Whitaker go?
Kevin Holland might be able to go.
But would Whitaker go? Because he was at 70 before. Now, if it's at 75, would he go?
I don't know. That's a possibility.
Would Izzy be able to make 75?
I don't
It'd
know.
be a struggle, but I think, he could potentially do it.
Why would he go? He's the champ at 185.
Just to get second belt.
Yeah.
Just to try to get a second belt.
That's all dependent upon the promotion saying, okay.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So
That's true.
some guys, they can
But
go, no, you're not going anywhere.
If they split that weight class, though, I mean, they're going to have a hard time. They would want to keep their champion there, I would imagine, in the beginning. Say, hey, you can't jump, But if that happens, I mean, I just feel like, I'm sure it'd be fun how it all intermixes. And plus, the ones that do leave, there's going to be some other guys that are at the bottom.
Yeah, they're
16,
going to be
17,
coming
18. They're going to be coming up. I get that portion of it all. In the beginning, it'll be fun for about 2 years, but then I think you're going to see a watered-down version of both weight classes. Maybe even 3 weight classes because of 185.
Not with their roster.
Well, no.
I don't think so.
You say that. You want to know why you don't want to know why you say that, and I think other fans will say the same thing, is because we know their marketing is fucking the best in the game. And so they're going to tell you all the propaganda that we need to hear for this person to be considered the best 15 in the top 15. We're all going to slurp that shit up like we always do, going, hey, that guy's really damn good. But are they really that good? You know what I mean? Like they're great at marketing. That's what they do. They market their athletes. They make us all believe that these guys are the best in the game. And people soak it up. They slurp it up just like that. So anyways, next question.
You didn't have to do the slurp sound.
I know, but I did. I did it just for you. I knew that would piss you off. John hates shit like that. It drives him crazy.
Cal Mash asks,
right, let's do a couple more.
Can you do a segment called Big John's Little Stories, like the UFC 1 glove story?
You guys, I've been trying to talk to Big John about doing McCarthy Mondays for the longest time. McCarthy Mondays, just drop a quick little tidbit, quick little whatever it is. Big John, he's too busy in his workshop. He's out there cutting wood for Miss McCarthy. She's out there saying, get to work.
Get to work.
37 years, get to work.
I want a table.
Yeah.
Shane Hawley asks, based on his last performance, who do you think the top 10 that Sean Brady would beat in a 5-round fight?
Okay, John, I talked to Sean today, and Sean had some comments for us regarding our show the other day.
Well, that's because
like,
you
look,
said bad things about his condition.
I did not say bad. I did not say bad good things about his conditioning. He said afterwards that all the hype got to him a little bit, and it did have an effect on him, which is true.
Yeah.
But he also said that his nose got busted in the first round, and that affected his breathing, which is very true as well.
Absolutely.
And so those are all things that we plan on talking with him, I think, early next week. We're going to have him on the show, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about that, and we'll be able to hash it all out. But we've gone back and forth a couple times on social media, and we've talked a little bit over the phone. And look, no hard feelings at all. There's a lot of, these are things that we don't get to experience in terms of talking to them and them telling us what they were feeling inside the cage. That's the point of having them on the show. And so I think he's going to be able to break it all down for us. But no, I don't have any. I think his conditioning obviously was on point enough to get the win. That's the biggest thing. And then taking shots like that, the pressure I think was a little bit to bear with as well. It's a big time show, co-main event. You're up there, you're fighting the number 6 guy. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of media that goes along. People don't realize the media you do during the week when you're the co-main event or you're the main event or you're the whatever, you're in the top main card. You're getting a ton of press. You're doing a ton of things online, a ton of things over the phone. Like it's nonstop. So, I think that was his first time, big time show where all that stuff hit him. And you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get time to sleep today. I thought I was going to get time to go hit a run. I thought I was going to get time to hit mitts. Son. You got to promote this fight. We don't pay. You want to get that paycheck, you got to do this stuff to promote the fight. So, who knows?
Next question from Gilgamesh 2001. How do you guys see Pitbull versus AJ McKee 2 going to be? Is it gonna end early, or do you see it going to the judges?
John,
right now the way things are, look, anything can happen in a fight, and do I think that AJ lands the same kick that put Pitbull in trouble and ended his night with the guillotine? No, I don't see that happening again. Do I think the fight goes longer? I do think the fight would go longer. I think it would be a fight that would go into deep into the third, into the fourth round. But I think it ends. I think it would end somewhere in there. And there's just look, there's differences and there's evolutions, and every fighter has their nemesis, has the person that has the ability to push them, but to keep them from being able to be as effective as they are against everybody else. And that's because they're just built a little bit different. They do things a little bit faster. They have things that keep them to make they're a hard opponent for them. That's just what it is. I mean, that's the game of fighting, and that's what makes it interesting. And that's why, we say, it's not MMA math, but if fighter A beats fighter B and fighter B beats fighter C, that doesn't mean that fighter C is going to beat, fighter A. It's just, there's no way of looking at it like that.
You totally lost me.
But, I look and it's, look at Patricio Pitbull's going to beat 99.9% of the 145ers he faces. There'd be very few guys out there at 145 pounds that I think can beat him. But guys that are like a Max Holloway, long, lanky, as Josh would say, a lot of volume, and has good movement and doesn't fall into the trap of allowing a shorter and stockier fighter to control that distance and that range. Now you have a different fight, because the controlling of distance and range is one of the biggest factors you will ever have in a fight when you're talking about the stand-up. And when the shorter guy is doing that, and there's ways of him trying to do that. One is to walk through the fire. One is for him to say, okay, for me to get into the range that I need to be, I need to go through the fire. I need to take chances. I need to put myself in sometimes bad situations. You go back in, boxing history. Look at Ali and Frazier. Who was the guy that gave Ali the hardest fights? It was Joe Frazier, because he would walk through the fire. He would take shots from Ali to deliver his. He would take the 2, 3, 4 shots to deliver the one. And you've got to put that in your mind. Is Patricio the guy that could do that against AJ? Yeah, it's a possibility, but he's got to walk through that fire.
Yeah, I thought the first fight was going to go 3 or 4 rounds. I was way wrong. But what you have to remember is that when you're dealing with someone like Patricio, he will go back to the drawing board. He will try to reinvent himself a little bit to make a difference in that fight.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if there will be a difference. I can't speak on that. I think AJ is extremely talented. He's fast. He's explosive. He is really big for the weight in terms of
getting
length
better,
and reach and all, and he's getting better. Also, the weight cut is also not an issue anymore. Now, we have also seen he's undefeated. He hasn't experienced loss. He doesn't understand what it is like to lose. But all of those things considered, we've also seen young talent like himself, okay, that, I've just beat who is considered to be like the Bellator GOAT, go out there and now all of a sudden not take it as serious and come back and not have a great performance. Will he fall victim to that? I don't think he will. I think his dad and him have a goal and a game plan for his career now that things have been settled in. And I think he's on track to become one of the greatest fighters ever. As long as he just keeps towing the line and keeps on track. If he stays on that line that his father has set for him and for himself, he's also set it for himself. If it's gonna be hard. He's gonna be hard to beat. Doesn't matter who he puts in front of. Now, him going to 55 is a little bit different.
Yep.
I think he can have success against some of the guys that are there right now. I don't know if he can beat them all, especially some of the new up and comers that are coming around. There's Alexander Shabley, there's Usman, there's Usman Nurmagomedov. There's other young talent that's coming up that will give him fits. But I think it does make for some fun fights. But I think he needs to stay at 45 for a little bit, defend it a couple times, establish himself there, and then go ahead and start getting ready to make that move. Because like I said, he's a big body frame. He possesses all the attributes of a great fighter, and we've seen that. I can't say exactly how the second fight's going to go, but I do think it will go longer. Next. Okay, 2 more.
Zelig Fishman asks, what is the likelihood of Hamza Chimaev beating Usman and or Israel Adesanya? #Anstill.
You're already going up to Israel Adesanya. You people are crazy. Yeah. Look, Khamzat Chimaev is special. He can wrestle his ass off. And he also has very good stand-up. He's got good hands. He throws sharp combinations. He's got a beautiful uppercut that he utilizes. The guy's got it, and he's got the mentality that you're looking for. He wants to be that guy. He wants the big fights. At 170, do I think he could beat Usman? I think he could be, like I said, there's always that guy out there that gives you fits. Could Usman beat Chimaev? Yeah. Could Chimaev possibly get to the point he could beat Usman? Yeah. He's getting there. I'm not sure that he's there yet. And I think if you put him in too early, that could, send him back if he doesn't win it for a while, because his confidence will shift. And look, you talk about a young guy. He's a young guy, and you can see that just in the way he handled the COVID situation. He got sick and, tried to go back in the gym real fast, and guys were eating him up because he physically wasn't prepared, for the effects of what, being sick had done to him. And that screwed with his mind. And that's because he's young and he hasn't experienced the things that you need to experience to understand, how these things take place and what you need to do. And he immediately said, I think I'm going to retire. I'm done. It's the end. And you look and you go, you're a young guy. It's okay, man. Just give it time. Well, he's going to be special. Just don't rush him to the point where you push him past where he is at that point. You're pushing him past what he can actually handle at the time. And it's also handle, like Josh was saying, when you get into those main event fights, there's so much for you to do, so many interviews for you to go through, so many sequences of, hey, you need to be here at this time, and you need to be, then you're going to be here, and then you're going to be on this radio call, and then we have you coming over and you're going to be on this. And it seems to everyone who doesn't do it that it's so much fun. Oh, that's exciting. No, it's a pain in the ass. And you try to act like you're very, happy to do it and you're in tune with doing it, but it's a grind. And all you've got going in your mind is, my fight's now this far away, and I want to get into the workout room and just break a sweat. I want to, start to do these things, and you don't have time. And sometimes you don't get to actually get that training in unless you're doing it at 11 o'clock at night, which sometimes isn't bad because that's when you're fighting. But these are the things that you have to learn how to deal with, and they take time. And this is the same thing as, what Sean was talking about. Sean Brady was talking about with, I didn't think it was going to affect me. It did. And it will. The pressure of the moment. It's not easy to handle, and not everyone is good at it. He may be that he is great at it, but he's going to be something special. Just give him some time.
Yeah. The verdict for me is still out on him because he hasn't been drugged into the deep waters.
No.
You said you've seen him from before in the past where
Yep.
he's had some tough fights.
Yep.
But I haven't seen him against a top UFC guy yet that's drug him into deep waters. Now, we may not see that until he gets to maybe a Usman or somebody else. That maybe we'll never see it. Who knows? But the verdict for me is still not. It's still out on me. I'm still gonna wait. I want to see him fight somebody like a Stephen Thompson, a Vicente Luque, Gilbert Burns. How he handles those type of athletes. And when I look at this weight class, they've got a lot of good talent there.
Yeah.
But you've also got talent that, like, Kies is coming off a loss, Masvidal coming off a loss, Stephen Thompson coming off a loss, Vicente Luque coming off wins, Leon Edwards coming off a win, Gilbert Burns coming off a loss. You have a lot of them in the top there that are coming off losses. Their confidence isn't what they was before, and they're still in the top 5, 6. So they're fighting somebody who is obviously the confidence is at an all-time high because he's just starching people and walking through them. So verdict for me is still out on him, but I do agree with you though. You have to slow play him, let him grow, give him some time, get him used to doing more press, get him used to doing all those things so he can learn how to work his training in around all that. I agree. Next.
All right, last one from Josh. Question for both. Prime Tony versus Max Holloway. Who wins and why?
I think Max. I mean, if they were both the same size, Tony can take a shot, but Max can deliver in combinations. Tony throws in ones and twos. He's a little funky, obviously. Max not trying to take him down. Tony has the kicks, but Tony's kicks were more up the middle. Not a whole lot of legs kicks. It was more of like the push kick up the gut. At least when I fought him, it was. He's got long reach, but so does Max. I mean, it's a little bit hard because Tony's a little bit bigger. He's like physically a bigger and thicker boned guy. Jiu-jitsu wise, I mean, probably think they're pretty comparable to each other. I give Tony a little bit more the weird freaky jiu-jitsu, that 10th Planet Eddie Bravo shit. He's got the weird jiu-jitsu, but that may throw Max off a little bit. But I mean, I would probably say Max because the fight would pretty much stay on the feet. I think Max not going to try to take him down. Tony probably wouldn't have tried to take him down. If he did, he'd probably just take him down and let him back up or attack a Darce, something like that. But I think Max is hip to those things. So it would have been a good fight, though. I think it would have been a great fight. But I would have leaned probably a little bit more towards Max, only because of the accuracy of Max, the output of Max when it came to the punching output. But I'd give Tony the power, and the elbows would play a factor as well. I got to go with that as well because I was on the subject of on the other end of that shit. So I'd give Tony the elbow situation. So submissions, I think they're about equal. It'd be a great fight, though.
It would be a great fight. You're absolutely right, but I think the speed would be the difference. One of the things about Tony is Tony's not that fast.
True.
And Max, when he gets on a roll, his combinations come fast, and his hand speed is good. He follows it up with kicks, and Tony's always been in that position. He eats kicks. He doesn't check them a lot. He'll stomp down with his leg and bite into it and try to counter it. But overall, I would look and I would think that Max would be a difficult fight just based upon his style for Tony. Not that Tony couldn't win it. He definitely could, and he could wrap up a submission even from the standing position, and he's good with that. But overall, I would lean towards Max. He's just a more accurate guy.
I agree. ProWrestlingTees.com/weighing in. Use the promo code and still pick up one of our shirts. We want to thank you guys for shopping our shirt network here, as well as posting pictures with us wearing it or posting pictures of you guys wearing it and tagging us in it. We go ahead and share those. And I want to thank you guys for supporting our podcast. So also make sure you guys hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channels. On our audio platforms, you got iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. All of those are our top ones that people mostly subscribe to. So hit the subscribe button there, as well as listen to us in the car, listen on your road trips. You guys are traveling for Thanksgiving. Make sure you put us on. Got a 4-hour, 5-hour drive. Hey, we've got several on there. Go ahead and just click. You guys can listen to us the whole way down. We want to thank you guys for continuing to watch us and support us. Thank you guys.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Have a great Thanksgiving. Spend it with your family, your friends, and I hope you have a special day. And to everyone out there, thanks for listening. And we, the boys here at the Weighing In Podcast, Josh the Punk Thompson, Podcast Dave, and me, John McCarthy, say we will see you